moment I first saw this incredible landscape was about 30 years ago, and I was aboard a helicopter and I was being flown over the mountains, and it was toward the end of the day and he was showing me potential property to purchase. And 30 years ago this was, well, we're called the Far Out Wineries, but this was even further out than far out. And as he pointed and he said, "There's the ranch that's for sale." And all I saw before me was this extraordinary valley. It was, well, it was early spring, it was emerald green because of the barley they had planted. And I had never seen anything so extraordinary, so gorgeous. It was a painting that you couldn't even describe. And just at that moment of rapture, I guess you'd call it, I felt an incredible shudder. It felt like an explosion, and for an instant I knew something terrible was going on, and then I realized I was in a very serious helicopter crash, and we had hit high tension wires, and we went down, and I thought that was the end of me. Amazingly, we walked out of the helicopter. Now, I'm not sure to this day that I actually didn't die. Maybe this is what heaven is, I'm not sure. I can tell you that I bought it on the spot. The person I ended up buying from was the original homesteader, and his name was Ben Ramage. And I didn't know what else to say, and I was young, and sometimes when you're young, you're not that smart about things. And so all I said to him was, don't worry, we'll clean up, and besides, I'm buying the place. And so that was my introduction to this extraordinary land. At that time, there was no vision whatsoever of a vineyard. It was well before any serious vineyards were even being planted or even thought of. That came many, many years later. So it was a couple decades later, after the crash landing, that I decided to plant the first grape. When I saw my first vineyard, which was literally next door, planted by Justin, it came as a flash. Well, that was the destiny of being in this place. The first thing, plant a vineyard. Now, to begin with, you're fairly ignorant about planting a vineyard, and why we picked the varietals we did came about because they were the ones we loved, which were the Bordeaux varietals. Did we really know that they were suited to this area? No, I have to confess, we were not certain, but it was what we wanted to drink ultimately for ourselves, and so we planted. The fact that they are absolutely ideal and that this area is, well, there's no question now, is far more suited than Bordeaux for the Bordeaux varietals is something we have learned. As a matter of fact, there's a book called Terroir, which describes all of the great soil constituents of France. Well, all the great soil constituents of France, as described in that book, are in this vineyard, including Montmorillonite, which is called the wonder soil, including a lot of different other kinds of calcareous soils that are all here. And then we even have our own backyard volcano, which contributes to what they call igneous soils, which are basically volcanic soils, which have all the minerals on Earth. And it has allowed us to be able to explain our literature and our labels that we have the most mineral and nutrient-rich wine on Earth, and this, of course, came about because of the studies. To go around this vineyard is to be able to enjoy the millions of years of geological history that really, in a sense, is our consulting winemaker. And if you look at the limestone, which is all around us, and we all know that their limestone is simply, well, it's basically white and has ochre colors, but then you'll notice this black rock intermixed. In fact, there's a little example of it right here. And again, this describes the story of the vineyard. This is limestone, and we call it now black limestone or limestone noir. And this came about because when we had the volcanic intrusion, as I just explained, it fired the limestone that was already had been laid in by the Pacific Ocean at that point over many thousands, tens of thousands of years. And so as it erupted, it fired the limestone and creating this black limestone and very hard limestone. And so this again tells the story of our wine, as all the soils lead to that essential story of a wine with incredible mineral content, and it's the minerals that create the sense of terroir and the taste of terroir. In fact, terroir, that's the study that's going on right now with John Deere, Motorola, Earth Information Technologies, and the universities. It was partially funded by a grant from the state legislature. And we're doing a 3-year study to try to find out or unlock the mystery of terroir. For me, painting the vineyard, or working in the vineyard, or picking the grapes, it's all kind of the same thing. It's all melded. And I feel the same way when we're in harvest, or we're talking about planting new varietal, as I do about starting a new painting. Because for us, this vineyard, we look at it in a holistic way. We make wine. Wine is an extension of the vineyard. It's an extension of the seasons. It's an extension of how we feel about this place. A lot of these paintings end up on the labels, and I think that adds something really to the experience. Because we feel here that, and that's why we have a tasting room, and that's why we love people to come here, because the ultimate appreciation of wine happens when you see where it is grown. I love the parallels between vineyard and wine and art, because you like to see the rhythm of life, to see these things be brought together. So when I paint the land, I'm painting not just the surface, but I'm painting the 20 feet under, because I know what goes on in that 20 feet. 26 soil types on this vineyard. So we have all kinds of subsoil. So you can take one row of vines, and it'll have a different character than the next row, because it's reaching into some specific soils that the other row perhaps is not being able to take advantage of. And so there's a lot of complexity within a vineyard. In fact, one of the things we're doing now is we are zeroing in on just rows and just small blocks and making wine right from that. Because we've learned a lot because of all the studies that have gone on here with Cal Poly and John Deere and some of the fantastic studies. And we're learning a lot about the specificity of the soils. And we want to take advantage of that and be real specific about it when it comes to the wine. Because the wine is about terroir. The greatness of wine is that it reflects those soils and this climate. If you really want to enjoy wine, you've got to taste wine. You've got to taste all of the subtleties that have made that wine happen. And you've got to experience the years that made the vineyard and the months that made the season for that particular year.
Currently inside of our new eco-friendly straw bale winery, which is built using rice bale straws, which essentially are 2 foot thick. So the walls inside this building are 2 foot thick. So we end up with basically an above ground cave, which gives us a nice cooling effect without having to use all the electricity and power up the grids and what have you. So you get the natural feel in here with a nice cool system. And what we've done here is we've dedicated a portion of this to our sparkling wine production. We're currently, I believe, probably the only winemaker in Paso Robles that's making sparkling wine in the true Méthode Chavanoise method, which is the method where it's fermented in the bottle. Everything we make here is estate grown, so of course the grapes that go into the sparkling wine are grown right here on the estate. These grapes are picked a little bit earlier than our regular wine production, so the alcohol could be maintained at a little bit lower level than the regular still wine. So what we do here is we picked our Chardonnay and our Pinot Noir grapes, and we actually press them together to make a base wine. We let that base wine ferment it dry, and when that is ready, we add it to the bottle here and let it, we add a solution of sugar and a little bit of dry Chardonnay that creates a secondary fermentation in the bottle. At that point, it goes into these boxes here, and it goes what you call entourage. And this particular batch of wine's been entourage for 23 months now. We're trying to go at least 24 months before we finish this wine, but it's not uncommon to go anywhere from 2 years to up to 6 years. And we will probably leave some of this particular lot up to 4 to 6 years as an experiment to see how it affects the wine. So this wine here, it's currently entourage. The next step after it ages anywhere from 2 to 4 to 6 years, it will go to the riddling process. And what we have behind me here are the riddling racks. And these are actually 100-year-old French riddling racks that we picked up and had shipped over from France. And these are hand riddled right here. And it takes about a month to hand riddle. And the riddling process is basically to take the sediment and get it from inside the bottle down to the neck of the bottle, so we can get that sediment out, so when we do finish the wine, it'll be a crisp, clear, sharp, sparkling wine. These bottles have been riddled, so the sediment is currently down at the neck of the bottle, and they're just waiting to be disgorged. So that's the next step, is the disgorging process. We'll freeze it in a ice bath, freeze the neck, pop it open, and that sediment plug will just push out, almost like a push-up in a ice cream cone. It'll just push out real slow. Once we get that sediment out, we'll add back just a little bit, in our case, a little bit of Chardonnay to fill the bottle, and that's when we'll cork it and put the wire cap on. If you see here at this bottle, the wire cap is what's holding the cork in, obviously, because the bottle's under so much pressure. There you go. When we finish this wine, we call it Kathleen. Kathleen is the daughter of Gary and Marion Conway, the owners of the ranch here. Kathleen is very integral in the process here at the winery. She's very hands-on. She's a tremendous lover of sparkling wine, and she was the catalyst for us to make sparkling wine. Although it's somewhat of a crazy process, we keep doing it at her urging. So cheers to Kathleen.
So this is the beautiful, beautiful Cabernet Franc. And of course you can tell Cabernet Franc by the leaf, can't you? These plants are, I think we're in our 20th year now. Actually, the vineyard is planted over a period of 3 or 4 years, and I believe we planted this in the first. And look what we got here. About, well, what do we have here? Still a month away though, to get the sugar to the point where it sticks on your hands so intensely that you can't even get your fingers apart. That's what we're waiting for. Now, we have a great advantage in this vineyard because we have more days of sun than any place in California. And you can see right over there, look at that cloud. That's a huge cloud cover hanging over the Santa Lucias. And that keeps that weather, that coastal weather back, and allows us to have all of the sun. That's what it does. In fact, we have more days of sun, can you believe this, than any place in California. California has a lot of sun. And These guys here, they're like sun worshipers in Malibu. That's all they care about is sun. They just want to get up early in the morning and get that sun for photosynthesis, and they want to go to bed late at night still with a little bit of that sun, the late day sun, and that's what gives you this marvelous. Well, I want to pick some right now. Probably shouldn't have done that. And just gonna make some kind of wine, I'll tell you that. This is great.